The Super Nintendo released in North America about 30 years ago in 1991. And to this day, the Super Nintendo is hailed as probably the greatest Nintendo console of all time. There are numerous games on the Super Nintendo, whether they're first-party games or third-party games. The library is enormous. And one thing that the Super Nintendo is known for is the sound chip within the console. The sound chip in the Super Nintendo was vastly better than its competitor in the Sega Genesis. And with that technology in the Super Nintendo came good soundtracks for multiple games. And so I got the homie Your Player 2 with me today. We're going to talk about our favorite themes across all Super Nintendo games. This one is going to be a hard one. So get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a good one.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
First things first. We're gonna start with Super Metroid. Now I'm gonna start with this theme in Super Metroid because this theme starts in the beginning. It gives you the backstory of what has happened so far to get us to where we are in Super Metroid. And this theme is the perfect theme. It sets the mood for what will be the rest of the game. I mean, with its orchestral composition, but in a 16-bit chip. And for what they were able to do, Mr. Yamamoto did a great job at composing this for the Super Nintendo. I mean, the eeriness in the beginning as it tells the story and as it builds up to the fanfare of Metroid. I mean, what more could you ask for an intro to the game? What more could you ask for a Super NES track? There's not much more you can ask for. As I mentioned, this track set the mood for the entire Super Metroid game, and I really appreciate that. Now, this one was a tough one to pick. I cannot lie to you guys. It was so tough for me to pick because I wanted to pick a track from Chrono Trigger, but there are many tracks from Chrono Trigger that stand out. I had to message the homie Rob Regal to ask some suggestions here because it came down to two tracks for me: The Undersea Palace and The Secret of the Forest. And Rob brought up a great point. It all depends on mood. What are you doing when you play this game? What do you want to listen to? The Undersea Palace does a great job of getting you hyped up and getting you ready for battle. But the Secret Forest puts you in a completely different mood. I mean, you could just listen to the Secret Forest by itself and be chilled out. Yasunori Masuda did a great job at composing the Chrono Trigger soundtrack, but this track in general just is a mystery in itself. It is a treat to listen to. I could just listen to this track for hours and be chill. And that alone makes it one of my favorite Super NES tracks ever.
Hey, what's up guys? Your Player 2 here, and Nick, thank you so much for having me on for this, man. I'm really excited to talk about two of my favorite SNES tracks of all time. And I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off with my favorite one of all time rather than lead up to it, and that would be Aquatic Ambiance from Donkey Kong Country. Now the thing is, Donkey Kong Country was a graphical showcase in its own right, but I don't feel like enough credit was given to just how many good tracks were on that game. But Aquatic Ambiance in particular is my absolute favorite because it's one of the most chill tracks I've ever listened to. Seriously, just go ahead and take a listen real quick. And that was just a quick sample, but this really is one of those tracks that really just doesn't get old. And the end seems to bleed into the beginning, and that's a great thing because there are actually 10-hour mixes of this on YouTube that you can listen to, and I frequently will put this song on in the background while I work because one, it's nostalgic, and two, it's just a very relaxing song. Which within the framework of Donkey Kong Country's often frenetic gameplay, it was a really nice change of pace whenever you finally reach the water level and start listening to this track in the game itself. And my second choice would be Big Blue from the original F-Zero. I have a lot of fond memories playing this game with my dad growing up, despite the fact that originally it didn't even have a two-player mode, but nonetheless, we blew away hours on this game. This was one of my favorite tracks ever, and obviously I couldn't listen to this on repeat like Aquatic Ambience, but it's still a pretty pulse-pounding tune for the 16-bit era. And the thing was, I hadn't played a lot of racing games leading up to this. Mario Kart wouldn't come out for another couple of years since this came out in 1990, and prior to that, the only racing games I really have a vivid memory of playing would have been Pole Position on the arcade, and then beyond that, I think Off-Road for the NES. So I spent a ton of time playing this game, and naturally I heard this track over and over as a child, and it's one of those songs that will stick with me forever. So much fun playing this with my dad growing up. So Big Blue is just an excellent track, and if you've ever played the original F-Zero, you know just how catchy it is. Alright, so that's it. Those are my two picks, Aquatic Ambience from Donkey Kong Country, and then also Big Blue from the original F-Zero. So, Nick, again, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'll go ahead and kick it back to you.
So I mentioned Super Mario RPG in my top 5 video that I did with Smash JT about 2 weeks ago. Super Mario RPG is quite possibly my favorite game ever on the Super NES. As I mentioned before, when you put Mario into an RPG, into this world made by Squaresoft, it was a treat for me growing up. I absolutely adored the game, and I still adore the game to this day. And this track in Super Mario RPG was my favorite track. It just sets the perfect mood for what you're going through in the forest. It's a forest maze, and so you're trying to find your way through the forest while chasing Geno, because Geno has now been, I guess you could say, resurrected, but he hasn't been resurrected. Has been brought to life, because Geno was a doll and brought to life from whatever his name is, because you don't know what his name is, because his name is too hard to pronounce, so he tells you to call him Geno. But regardless, Geno goes to the forest, you chase Geno into the forest, it's a forest maze, and this just sets the mood perfectly for what you're going through as you're walking through the forest, running into enemies, trying to find Boyer. Absolutely perfect the way this song was composed for this particular level, and it just brings back joy every time I hear it. And still to this day, my top favorite track in Super NES history. That's right, I said it. The #1 track in Super NES history for me. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What are some of your favorite Super Nintendo tracks of all time? Also, do me a favor, as always, in the description box will be your Player2's channel. Click on that link, check him out, hit that subscription button, hit that bell icon for him. He does great work over there on his channel. And then of course, if you like this video and you like me and you like my channel, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and also hit the like button. It helps out a lot for the channel. This has been Nicktendo Direct. I appreciate every single one of you who have made it this far. I'll see you guys later.